Okay, this is going to be lesson 1.4 in our Go Math books. So in your Go Math materials, we are going to be working on page 23 through 28, okay? 23 through 28 today, okay? I know that sounds like a lot. We'll skip around, but I want you to definitely be following along. I also had somebody let me know that it was kind of hard for you to see me writing in a pencil. So I'm going to use an erasable pen, but you should be using a pencil so that if you make a mistake, you can go ahead and erase that, okay? But again, we are going to need pages 23 through 28 in our Go Math books. You will need a pencil, and if you want to have your whiteboard next to you that you were given, you can use that as well. Totally up to you, okay? All right, so here we go. We are starting on page 23 at the top where it says powers of 10 and unlock the problem. Powers of 10 and exponents. So we're going to be talking about both those things today. I'm going to scoot it down to where it says unlock the problem. So it says here, expressions with repeated factors such as 10 times 10 times 10 can be written by using a base with an exponent. The base is the number that is used as the repeated factor. Now this is going to make sense in just 1 minute. The exponent is the number that tells how many times the base is used as the factor. Okay, so they use that same example, 10 times 10 times 10. So our base is this number that's been repeated multiple times here. So our base is 10, and our exponent is 3 because there are 3 number 10s in a row there. Okay, and that's 1,000, and we'll talk about how we can find that answer really quickly without having to write it down and do 10 times 10 times 10, okay? The word form of that is the third power of 10, or sometimes you'll hear people say 10 to the third power, okay? I want you to be aware that there are sometimes different ways people say it. So next to word form, we're going to write 10 to the power of 3, okay? And that's the word form. That's how you would say it as if it was coming right out of your mouth, okay? I'm going to zoom in just a tiny bit here so we can see, okay? And then, of course, the exponent form is our base, which is 10, and a little tiny, I like to call it a little tiny baby 3 up here because there's 3 of them, okay? So we're going to scooch down here where it says activity, use base 10 blocks. We're going to scoot all the way down. Okay, so it says, what is 10 times 1,000 written with an exponent? Okay, so we're going to actually look at this and we're going to fill out these blanks here together. And then we're going to work on a few problems together on the practice page, and then I'm going to assign your homework problems that you'll be working on, okay? All right, so let's take a look at it. So we have a 1, just one little tiny cube by itself. We would write that as 10 to the 0 power because it's just 1 by itself. Okay, we have 10 ones. That's 10 of these little cubes stacked up on top of each other. Okay, that's like 10 to the first power. And then we have what we call a flat. This is called a flat, okay? We have 10 of these long strips, and they're all bunched together, and that makes 100 of these tiny little cubes together. We write that as 10 to the second power. And then we have 1,000 ones. That means there's 1,000 of these tiny, tiny little cubes all bunched together in one big giant cube. Okay, and we write that as 10 to the third power. So let's look at these bullet points down here. So it says, how many ones are in 1? So if we look at 1 here, how many ones do you see? Well, we see 1. So we're going to write a number 1 there. Okay, the next part says, how many ones are in 10? So we're going to look here. And we're going to count the ones. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the next one says, how many 10s are in 100? Okay, these are 10s here. We want to know how many of those strips we see in 100. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay? Then we're going to look at this, and this question's a little bit different. It says, how many hundreds, that's this, are in 1,000? So if we had a bunch of these little flats and we stacked them all together to make 1,000, how many would we get? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay? And then the next one says, how many thousands are in 10,000? Okay, so we would have to stack a whole bunch of these together to make 10,000. And that would also be 10. Okay? Now the next part says, in the box at the right, draw a quick picture to show 10,000. But I'm not going to do that because I don't think that that relates to what we're doing really. I'm going to be honest with you. So we're going to actually go to page number, let's see. Yeah, I do want to do this example. On page number 24, we're going to be working on this example here at the top, the one with the picture of the hummingbird, okay? Now, I'm going to just remind you one more time. If you need to go back and watch this video again, do it. If you need to pause throughout, do it, okay? If there's something you don't understand and you're like, wait, what did she say? Do it, okay? All right, so up here where it says example, it says multiply a whole number by a power of 10. Hummingbirds beat their wings very fast. If you've ever seen a hummingbird, you know that their wings move so fast that it's really hard to see them, okay? The smaller the hummingbird is, the faster its wings beat. That is interesting. I didn't know that. The average hummingbird beats its wings about 3 times 10 to the third power times a minute. That's really fast. How many times a minute is that written as a whole number? So we're gonna figure that part out, okay? So it says multiply 3 by powers of 10 and look for a pattern. Okay, so we have 3 multiplied by 10 to the 0 power, which is the same thing as 3 multiplied by 1. Any time you see 10 to the 0 power, you can replace that with a 1. So that's like saying 3 times 1. Well, we can do that in our heads. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay? Then we're going to look at the next one. Well, I want to actually talk about this really quick. The other way you can look at it is, okay, 0 is our power. That's our little tiny baby number up here. So 3, if we cover up the 0 and the 0 power, 3 times 1 is 3. And we're not going to add any zeros because that power is 0. Okay? Okay, let's look at the next one. That will make more sense on this one. Okay? We have 3 multiplied by 10 to the first power, or 10 to the 1 power. Okay? That's the same as saying anytime you see 10 to the first power here, that's like replacing it with the number 10. So we're going to take 3 and multiply it by 10. If you don't know that, you can do 3 times 1, which is 3, and add a 0, which gives us 30. Okay? The other way you can look at it is you can go, okay, 3 times 10 to the first power. 3 times 1 is 3. And because there's a little tiny baby 1 at the top, I have to add a 0, which gives me 30. Let's look at the next one. 3 times 10 to the second power, okay? Now, this is where things get a little bit different. We have 3 times, and we have that little tiny baby 2 up here above the 10. That means that we have to multiply 3 by 10 2 times. So we're going to rewrite it. Well, they've written it for us. 3 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10. Because there is a number 2, we have to add 2 tens to that. Okay? And when we do that, we get 300. Now, another way to look at that, if I cover my zeros, I get 3 times 1 times 1, which is 3, and I add my 2 zeros, gives me 300. Or I can say, okay, I have 3 times 10 to the second power. If I cover up the 0 and the second, the 2, I get 3 times 1, which is 3. And that 2 right there tells me I have to add 2 zeros to it. Okay? Let's look at the next one. 3 times 10 to the third. Okay? That's our original problem here. Okay? We were looking at patterns, but this is what's going to give us our answer. So that's like saying 3 times 10 times 10 times 10. There are 3 10s because of this little tiny 3 right here. That little tiny 3 tells us we have to multiply by 10 3 times, okay? Which will give us the answer 3,000. Okay, and if you don't know that, you can cover up your zeros and go 3 times 1 times 1 times 1. Well, that's just 3. We add 3 zeros to the end. Tack on those 3 zeros. You can also look at it over here and go, okay, 3 times 10 to the third. I'm going to cover up the 0 and the little baby 3. 3 times 1 is 3, and I'm adding 3 zeros because of that little tiny 3. Okay? So the average hummingbird beats its wings about 3,000 times per minute. 3,000 times per minute. Okay, down here on the same page, we're going to look at the section where it says share and show. This is still on page 24, okay? Still on page 24. So it says share and show. Write, for number 1 and 2, write in exponent form and word form. So we're going to do a couple of these problems together, and then I'm also going to give you a minute to solve some of these problems on your own. Pause the video and then come back, okay? All right, so let's take a look at it. Number 1 says 10 multiplied by 10. So they want us to write the exponent form. So first of all, we have to look at that number we're working with. The number that we're working with is 10. So we're going to start by writing our base of 10. Now this next part is the easiest part. We're going to take a look at it and we're going to say, how many 10s do we see? Well, I see 2. So we're going to add a little tiny baby 2 up here. So we have 10 to the second power. And that makes our life easy down here for word form, because all we're going to do is write it out exactly how we would say that number if we were to say it out loud. So I actually already said it for you. I said this is 10 to the second power, or you could say 10 to the power of 2. So let's write it like that. 10 to the power of 2. Okay, using words. 10 to the power of 2. We state our base first, the power of, and our little baby number is 2. What I want you to do is I want you to pause this video and I want you to try number 2. So you're going to pause the video and try number 2 on your own, and then you're going to come back and you're going to write it for me, okay? Let me forward this call. Okay, so number 2, let's take a look at it. You should have paused this video and gotten the answer for me, okay? All right, so exponent form for 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, okay? So we have our base, which is 10. That's the number that we're working with. And we have to look and see how many times do we see 10. So we see it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, okay? So our exponent is 4, 10 to the 4th power. Make sure when you write it up here and you write it small enough, because it might look like 104 if you don't, okay? And our word form is 10 to the power of, ooh, this is harder to write, power of 4, okay? With the spelling, I'm not super worried about it. I want you to just be able to tell me that that's 10 to the 4th power, 10 to the power of 4, same thing, okay? Now we're going to be working down here on problems 3 through 5, and I'm going to do 2 of them with you, and then I'm going to have you work on one by yourself, okay? So, sorry guys, let me dismiss that really quick. Okay, 10 to the second power. Let's take a look at that. we have 10 to the second power. So our base is 10. So we're going to cover the 0 and the 2, and we're just going to look at it. We're going to write that as 1. And because there's an exponent that's 2, we're going to add 2 zeros to that. That is your answer. Super easy, right? You write a 1, add 2 zeros because of that little number 2. That little tiny number 2 tells us, hey, we have to add 2 zeros to this. Okay, let's look at number 4. I want to look at 4, then you're going to work on 5 by yourself. So number 4, we're going to cover the 0 and the 2. This one's a little different because we're doing a multiplication problem. So if we look at it, we go, okay, what's 4 times 1? Well, that's 4. And that little tiny number 2 up here tells me, hey, you have to add 2 zeros to that 4. 1, 2. Your answer is 400. Okay, I want you to pause this video and try number 5. Okay, pause the video and try number 5. We're going to look at number 5. You should have paused the video and then came back, and we're going to do this together and see if we get the same answer, okay? So we look at this, 7 times 10 to the third power. We cover up our 0 and our 3, and we have 7 times 1. Well, we can do 7 times 1 in our head. 7 times 1 is just 7. And that little number, tiny baby number 3, tells me that I have to add 3 zeros. So 1, 2, 3. Your answer is 7,000. I hope you got 7,000 on that. Okay, 7,000. All right, we're going to look at, I want to do, no, I don't. Well, no. I want to look at our practice and homework page because this concept is pretty simple. If you need to go back and look at this video or watch this video again to understand what we did, then go ahead and go back and do that, okay? If you need to watch this video a couple times, that's totally fine, okay? We are going to look at page 27 next. Page 27, and I'm going to tell you your homework problems for today, okay? Please make sure that you do these problems right away so that you're not having to do them way later, because the problem with that is if you don't stay caught up, then you will be super confused, okay? So we're on page 27. You're going to circle the problems as I assign them, okay? I want you to do number 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, let's see, and 9. Okay, so you are working on problems number 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9. Okay? Then on the back, page 28, please make sure you circle these. You are going to do number 2. Let's see. That's it. I just want you to do 2 on that page because I kind of assigned a lot from the front. So I've got a total of 2, 4, 6, 7 problems for you tonight. Okay, 7 problems for you today. So you're working on 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9 on page 27. And then on the back, page 28, you are working on problem number 2. Okay? Complete those problems. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Let me know. I can help with that. The other thing I was going to tell you is I know that these math videos can be hard to hear. I'm trying to talk really loud for you, but I'm also waiting for a headset to come from Amazon. And I'm hoping that's going to improve that. If not, I will figure something out. I know they're really hard for you to hear. One thing I would say is try to use headphones when you're listening to these math videos, okay? Have a great day and work really hard.